Good morning, guys, and welcome to Unique Not Different with me, Shamla. And today I have a very, very, very special guest. I have Justice Helen Latina. Justice Helen Latina. Um, I want her to introduce herself. Good morning, Justice Helen
Good morning, Shamla, and it's Justice Helen Whitener.
Whitener. Yeah.
Yes, and thanks so much for having me this morning.
And thank you for getting up so early. It's 3:39 a.m. in the
Yes,
morning.
it is.
So
It's real early.
can you tell us briefly about some of your accomplishments before we
Well,
actually go into the interview?
thank you. I was appointed to the Washington State Highest Court, the Supreme Court, April of this year. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
first Black female to be seated on the highest court here. I am the fourth immigrant born Supreme Court Justice. I am the state's first and only LGBT justice, Black. And I also identify as an individual who has a disability. I have a back condition that will degenerate as years go on.
Wow. So you mentioned immigrant, right?
Yes.
I would like to go into the interview with that. What has led your parents to migrate to the United States, and how had moving to the US change opportunities for you?
Cheryl, my family is still home in Trinidad. My
Serious
mother
about
and
moving?
father, my father passed away a few years
Uh-huh.
back, and he was a school principal. My mother, who's a retired school teacher, resides on the island, Joyce Pierre. I have a
Yes.
sister still on the island. I have my eldest brother. He's on the island, Niger. And, I have one brother here in the US with me. He's in
Okay.
New Jersey. But I
Uh-huh.
came here at the age of 16
Mhm.
after having a debilitating condition on my side, my right side, for medical reasons. I was doing my A levels at St. George's College in Barataria. And after completing rehabilitation, I stayed in the US to pursue my advanced degree, and the rest is history.
But that being said, do you think that in terms of a country that is developing as opposed to a developed country, do you think you would have gotten the same opportunities given the gap in terms of inclusivity and where we
At the
have been?
time, at the
Yeah,
time, probably not, you
right.
know. But I'll say this: there are parts of me that were clearly identifiable. That is, Black woman. And in Trinidad, you could achieve whatever you put your mind to as a Black woman. My disability, however, since I was paralyzed on my right side, probably would have prohibited me because, people have this lens like you're less than if you have a disability and all of that.
Right.
So I could have see them putting barriers in my way. But my mother and father raised me to fight. So I'm a fighter. So, I have a feeling I would have been trying to overcome those barriers. In regards to being LGBT, not likely I would have been accepted on the island back then. I think today, with all the changes that have occurred, maybe it may occur um, today, but back then, absolutely not.
Agreed. Um, being the first Black Supreme Court judge, being the first Black gay Supreme Court judge, being the fourth Supreme Court judge that is an immigrant, and you
Right.
also have a disability, breaking those barriers in a culture that, you know, in a culture that is still fighting for acceptance. What would you say was the major key to moving up in a system that is skewed away from equality and equity in all those categories I just mentioned?
I think my upbringing, like I say, one of the things with my family is they did not accept failure. And
Yeah.
by that is, like you fall down, pick up and keep going. I sound like my mother when I say that. Get up, fix
Yeah.
yourself and keep going. So I came up and I always had this mentality that I'm going to do what I want to do, whatever I put my mind to. So I was not going to accept failure. Not that I didn't have hurdles to overcome, not that I didn't have to deal with people and the discrimination,
Mm-hmm.
but it's you just dig in and you decide to yourself, I'm going to do this. and I don't care who is in my way. They better get out of my way because I am going to do this. And along the way, I, gathered friendships and mentorships and basically move forward. But I'll say this, I always did it being my authentic self. So I always let people know who I am as I was pursuing my journey. So therefore, they were true allies, as opposed to getting there and then having something in your closet that you don't want people to know about. No, when they got me, they got all of me.
I agree. And in terms of your career, right? Being we often see gaps in the judicial system, whether whether be it in terms of um, crime, whether be it discrimination, whether be it domestic, falling through the cracks in those systems, and um, that either cases are being dismissed or taken too long. What would you suggest would help alleviate that dysfunction in a system like the judicial system?
Well, some things you can control and some things you can't.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the system you're under. In the United States, let's say you're looking at the civil system. The civil system for a discrimination case is pretty much run by the attorneys. A lot of things are done outside of the courtroom, and the court basically handles the motions and those sort of things. So counsels, as they negotiate and work and do their discovery on their cases, pretty much control the speed of that system.
Right.
In regards to the criminal system, the criminal law system, that is run by rules and statutes, which means there are timelines. People have a constitutional right to have a jury trial, a speedy jury trial. So therefore, those things the court more or less handles and tries to handle in a faster manner, because you're talking about people's liberties. You're talking about victims of crimes. So that's the difference between the two systems. And in regards to the criminal system, as well as the civil, having good best practices, we call it, in place to handle the different types of cases and making sure they move forward rapidly is truly important. And it depends on the system you're under.
What what um, what does legislation mean to you, and how important is legislation to the disenfranchised, vulnerable, and minority groups in society?
Legislation for that group, marginalized groups, I call it, is extremely important. Having said that, you need to understand in the United States, there are three branches of government. So you have
Okay.
the executive branch, which is law enforcement and those groups. Then you have the legislative branch, which is the branch that makes the bills, the rules, and the laws. And then you have the legal branch. All three are separate. The judicial branch or the legal branch, we deal with the laws that have been implemented and enacted by the legislature. So if individuals have a problem with the laws, the true place to have change occur is with the legislature, because judges are charged with interpreting the law. The thing about being on the highest court, however, is we can create what is called precedent. And for some people, that is creating new law, is a way of looking at it. And in creating that precedent, we can also give guidance that enacts law that encompasses the entire community, So for me now, it's the entire state as opposed to just a county or a city for some. But that's how we can deal with it. But it is truly important, and people see that there are differences, and that even though we're different, we all are requiring to be treated in a decent, just manner. And
Right.
notice I didn't say equal, because equal means that we're all getting the same piece of the pie, but some of us need more support than others. So I'm more one for equity, a fair distribution, a fair application of the law, so
Right.
that everyone is brought in and is protected.
I will put in two questions in one here.
All right.
What what advice would you give to someone who has a big dream but not seeing, not currently seeing their part of those dreams? And what do you consider a truly inclusive nation?
Oh, those are two pretty good questions.
Thank
In
you.
regards to a dream, having a dream is wonderful. A big dream is wonderful, but it does nothing for you unless you're willing to do a couple of things. One is sacrifice to get what you want as far as your dream. And the other thing is you need a plan. You could have a dream for 20 years, but if you didn't do anything with it, it's just a dream. I've always had dreams, but I've always put them down and created plans, course of action. And with that, excuse me, and with that, it is important to enact the dreams through a path of action. So having dreams is wonderful, but you need to do something with those dreams and you need to be willing to sacrifice. You don't always get what you want. In regards to the second path, part of your question, what was the second part of your question?
What do you consider a truly inclusive nation?
A truly inclusive nation is a nation that sees everyone, values everyone, and provides support as needed for everyone. Some people need more support than others in certain circumstances. But at the end of the day, that's why I was saying there's a difference to me between equality. A lot of people say, they want to be equal. I don't want to be equal. What I want is equity. I want a fair treatment. If I need more support than the other person, like I indicated, I have a disability, which is my back condition. Sometimes I have a cane. I may need more support on that day than my wife, for example, or a colleague, because they don't have that condition. So an inclusive society is one that sees people and values people where they are at and provides support so that they can participate at their own level. That's what I see as inclusive.
I would give you the opportunity to close off. I always say be good, do good at the end. So in closing off, I just want you to tell Trinidad and Tobago and the world just something. And just if you could close off by saying, be good, do good, it will be awesome for me.
All right. So here's what I'm going to say, Shamla. We have differences, but we're not truly different. So be good and do good. And I love that. Thank you, Shamla.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.